75% of plastic surgeons saw a spike in clients under 30.
So this week we are going to be discussing attitudes to plastic surgery and how they are changing in different age groups to help you make sense of it in your clinics.
As somebody who is at the lower end of millennial and going into Gen Z, my social media feeds are absolutely filled with young girls showing off the procedures they're getting, showing off their Botox, showing off that they actually in the chair getting lip filler. And it just made me think, like, this is not normal. And not only are they putting it on TikTok, it's been glorified. Like, they are glorifying this. I am getting Botox, look at this. You didn't talk about the Botox you got 20 years ago.
Biggest difference is the affordability and the access to those procedures has opened them up to a younger market. And younger people are they're not defensive, they tend to be on the offensive. So these girls that you're describing sound like people who are like, yeah, here I am, I've got the money, I've got the power, I'm having my procedure, I'm getting more beautiful, don't get in my way. Mm-hmm. Versus, oh, I'm getting older, I'm falling apart, I'm trying to keep it together a bit longer and try and maintain, because that's the defensive side of it. It essentially becomes a status symbol and a statement of power. It just means something different. It doesn't have the same meaning as it used to. Some of that is also to do with the fact that the old version of this, the Hollywood plastic surgery, was also people with wealth and power. Mm-hmm. So as it becomes more accessible, there's an element of that communication as well, which is a status symbol. In fact, one of my patients said to me, it's the new Gucci handbag.
Yeah.
Because and in fact, looking over-treated, because looking like you've had filler is another way of saying, look, I've got money and power, and
all I hear, go get the money. So I go get
that gives a status to certain people. So it's actually a goal to look treated by some and to be seen to be treated because of people like the Kardashians. And
yeah, I agree with that. I also think, you know, the way you talked about control though, do you genuinely think for those young girls, we're saying like 2021, it is about control? Or do you think it is just, I've seen that person, that influencer on Instagram show off their Botox and they're getting a lot of attention for it and they're getting lots of praise and positive comments about how good they look. I want that too.
Yeah. I mean, there's an element of buying a story with whatever you buy. I often think it's a useful way of understanding why people do things, why people purchase anything. But if you're a follower of Kim Kardashian and Khloe, all those Kardashian types who I don't actually follow, they represent a lot of things a lot of people would like.
Yeah.
So if you take some big part of their story and replicate it, you feel a bit like a little junior version of the Kardashians. And it doesn't really matter whether you get the same result or not. It's like you're living some aspect of it, and it probably plays out in other ways too. It's very easy to be judgmental and say, oh, they're all being tricked and fooled. But I imagine that if you feel a certain way because you've done an act like that, you have more confidence afterwards. You probably do more things you wouldn't have done if you were just a regular nobody. In your mind, I would say, because that's not how I would describe it. But in their own mind, the choices would be, am I going to be just a regular nobody doing nothing, or am I going to be doing something exciting and adventurous and glamorous? And if you become that person, then you behave differently generally. It becomes part of your identity to be out there, like playing the game, as opposed to hiding at home, wishing you could. You know, it's something like that, which might be an element of this. And it's very easy to condemn it all and say these young, beautiful people need nothing. Mm-hmm. And you could definitely make that argument for a huge number of them objectively.
Yeah.
But it's not really about the physical. Like, it's about that story. Like, what are you playing full out given the environment you find yourself in?
There's tons of articles about young people. So Gen Z are leaning into Botox injectables. Gen Z plastic surgery craze. 75% of plastic surgeons saw a spike in clients under 30. That's young, man. Firstly,
with the generation who's seen the most of ourselves, like there's no mistaking that. You know, don't forget, a few hundred years ago, you couldn't even find a mirror.
Yeah.
Like, so then we had mirrors, and now then there were just basically phones that people took pictures, then the whole selfie thing, and then we got Zoom, which you constantly have to stare at yourself, which really is, like, for me, Zoom is the most frequent part of the day where I'm confronted with reality. Because in the mirror, I can compose myself. Like, you look straight at yourself. You're not kind of looking at different angles and trying to speak, and all that stuff wakes you up to even more reality. So if you have an issue with a bump on your nose, it's confronting you for 3 hours every day.
Yeah.
Like, it never used to be like that. You could forget about it.
When someone paid you a compliment, even 20 years ago, it was only ever done either on the phone or to you face to face. Whereas people are now seeing other people getting compliments all over the place on their comments, which makes me think, oh, they're getting compliments. Why aren't I getting compliments? It's like ballooned because everyone just used to get compliments in their own little bubble, but now everyone's seeing everyone's compliments.
The hidden sinister element is that most of those images are not even real anyway, which I'll be honest, there were many of those pictures in the early days with the whole, Kardashian stuff that I assumed that they were just really good looking because they'd had really good plastic surgeons. And then you have to see the other view of them leaving the clinic with a non-filtered image to be like, oh, they just look like they did before. But I can see something's happened, but they still have, it's no longer looks so perfect. So people compare themselves with an illusion. And then it's so obvious what gets attention that you almost can't shut off that voice in your head that says, pursue this, like try and get some of this magic, which would be fine if it was a real thing. I think it's sad if it's a mirage, like you're not actually ever going to get there.
There was also this thing, so there's an influencer called Ellie Rallo, and she was so trolled in the comments about her gummy smile that she ended up getting a lip flip. And then to me that posed the question, like, would she have got a lip flip if she wasn't an influencer? And did that trolling drive her to get that lip flip? Or do you think she would have gotten it anyway, even if she wasn't an influencer?
Sure, she probably wouldn't have.
She wouldn't have.
But for me that's not an ethical issue, because as a doctor you're trying to empower people in their context. Have you ever met someone with some distracting issue and just struggled not to think about it?
Yes, I guess so, but it hasn't. I haven't said anything, and I've tried. Like I've still listened to that person. Like it hasn't distracted me to the point that I can no longer, like the Austin Powers thing.
Which one?
The gold member with the stick and the mole.
By the way, I realize that I have a large mole on my face.
Where? What?
If no one else had thoughts that enter your mind when you meet someone with a distraction like that, this clip would mean nothing. So what comedy does is it reframes how you look at a situation and often makes us conscious of what we're doing. Intuitively, we understand. Like I remember having a mole cut of my nose and having a little plaster. Now, there was this girl I liked at the time. For the whole time I had that plaster, I used to walk the back way around the school.
That actually breaks my heart. That breaks my heart. Because she probably wouldn't have given a
Yeah, but I felt like I had this enormous glaring distraction on my face, and I couldn't connect with her, and she'd just see me as that weird, like, bleeding face boy, I think instinctively we understand that your face is for communication, and if you have something on your face that occupies someone's brain in a different way as opposed to what you're trying to say, then you lose something. And so we have an instinct to try and get those distractions, those barriers out of the way so we can connect with people. Now, it's not that people are, it's not necessarily, because the people who are saying mean things, there are two reasons why you say mean things on the internet. One is you're looking for status and power yourself, you've got none. So you come on and say, well, you might have all these followers, but you've got a gummy smile, whatever. But the other one is a genuine distraction, and they kind of just blurt it out, like as in, maybe there's an element of both, I suppose, but they will be saying something that they are noticing instead of what she's saying. So I would separate the two issues. It's not okay to go online and say mean things to people, and you wouldn't do it, but I would say that you probably would also notice things about people ahead of the message they're trying to get across in certain circumstances, and that's what people are trying to get rid of. They're trying to create friction-free connection and communication. Her context is different, and so her needs are different. And if that has helped her get her message across, because what she's also, this is an issue for most people with appearance, is really appearance is about connection. It's about being able to connect with people strongly so that you can collaborate with them. That's the baseline of why we want to be more beautiful. Connection, collaboration. She has essentially picked up that people are not connecting with her because of a gummy smile. Instead of listening to what she's saying, they're saying, oh, look at your gummy smile. So she removes that. She has one less obstacle to connect with people. It's an appropriate procedure. You could argue that it's sad and people should just be kind, but if they're all thinking it anyway and they're not listening to her, they're looking at a gummy smile, they've actually just told her the truth of what's going on. She's made a correction. Now she gets her message across in return better. This is where there's a conflict, because we also, on one level, you want people to be happy in their skin and not to live in some sort of emotional pain of not being enough. But on another level, if it genuinely is something that stops people thinking about what you're saying because they're too busy looking at whatever imperfection, and they let it slip that that's how they feel, and then you get it corrected, you do actually get some additional power for that. You get that attention, you get that connection with people. You could argue it's just a system at play, and we're part of a system of feedback and response.
Yeah, but the issue wasn't her gummy smile. The issue was people being cruel in comments. So I would never go on someone's TikTok and write something mean about the way they looked. Have you not noticed there's two categories, especially with younger people, and I'm sure you can see it clashing on social media. When people do post stuff about the Botox they're getting, they'll also get a backlash from younger people who 100% don't agree with it and think it's unnecessary and trivial and shallow. And
yeah, absolutely. So these are all the stories that people tell in order to make decisions, and they rewrite the story often to solve an emotional clash. You know, the story of I'm really natural, I really love natural things. Like, I often have people who are having just about to Botox and filler who will say all that stuff. So they want a natural looking result.
Yeah.
They're still having it. They're just having a natural result because they're very natural. And then other people who would tell a different story, which is, you know, I'm here to make the most of my life, and I'm not going to get old, and I'm going to fight it in every way possible because that's one of my values. And yeah, I'll have the organic, but I'm also controlling my appearance as much as I can. I'm not giving in to nature. So let us know what you think about this interesting topic, and don't forget to like and subscribe so that the algorithm serves you more videos just like this. Thanks for watching.